Hey, it's Dave here from MegaPoints Controllers. It seems like for the last 6 or 7 months all I've done is make mimic panels. So I need to make a small demo panel up for myself. So I thought I'd just show you quickly an overview of how we go about it. I use a variety of software. In this case I'm using CorelDRAW because it's a simple panel. And I've got a push button here. Hang on, let's hide all of this. So basically the panel is, I think in this case, 99mm by, well, let's measure it. Let's see what we end up with. I think I've gone for 280mm. It's 280mm, 279 there. And I think it is something like 100mm vertically. Let's have a look. 99mm on there. Yes, so it's 100mm vertically. So nice small panel. It's only got 2 sets of points on it. I've got a button here and a button here. What I'm going to do is just hide that rectangle so it doesn't get in the way. Lock, there we go. So when I select the buttons, you can see I've got a button here and a button here in black. The green circles are normal point position LEDs, and the blue will be the feedback block detection output. Because I'm creating the panel upside down from underneath and etching, what I need to do first of all is reverse the whole thing. So I'll spin it around so it looks back to front, and the next thing I want to do is remove all the colours. So let's just make sure nothing is grouped, and then I'll take the colours out. As really I'm engraving, so I just want everything etched except for those 2 buttons, which I'll change to red, which will tell the laser to actually cut a hole, and this will be on the plastic sheet that's on the top. So let's save that, and I'll move it through to the laser cutter software. So I've transferred the diagram to the laser cutter software, and I've dropped it in. You can see it on the bed. So these are the dimensions of the laser cutter bed, and it's a fairly small panel, so I've found a small offcut that should do nicely. So it's going to cut in this little area here, take out a small panel for me. So what I'll do, I'll just download the job to the laser, and I think we're good to go. Let's test that, see how it looks. Brilliant. So I'll enable the laser, bring on the filtration, and let's see what happens. So I'll see you in about an hour. Well, the engraving looks fine to me, so what I'm going to do now is have it cut the holes in it so we can take the actual panel out. So what I'll do, I'll come back to the software and I'll just enable the cutting. So it's going to cut, download that, and now it's going to cut that out. So let's have a look. Here's our panel, ready to go. Hey! So that'll be ready for cleaning out and painting. Of course, before we finish, we need some backing like this, so I need to make some MDF backing. And the way that works is slightly different. I'll try and show you on here. Let's see. Let me get a tripod. I'll try it without the tripod. Let's see what happens. So here's the basic design, and this is for the layer that you can see, the plastic etched layer. And what I need to do is set up something for MDF. So if I add a new layer, let's try this with one hand. MDF. I've now a new layer, and what I can do is I think I'll copy that. So I've got the rectangle, and basically what I want to do is make these holes here and here. Now what I've done to save myself tons of time, see where that buttonhole is? I've written a macro. So if I just do that, it will automatically create the button of the correct dimensions on the right layer. So if I turn off the fascia, you can see there's the button on the MDF ready to be cut out. The blue line is the marking to show you where the button goes, and the red will be the actual square hole. Let's add another button here. You can select that and bang, and there's the next button. And then what we also need on the MDF layer are the actual holes for the LEDs. So we use a 3mm LED as standard, so this etched area is 3mm, but the actual hole for the LED is slightly different, so we get an interference fit. And again, I have another macro for that. And if you look, I've just run it, you can see that inside the black circle there's a red one that will be cut out on the MDF layer. And if I hide the fascia, you can see it's just having the MDF layer left. That saves me a ton of time. So what I'm going to do now, I would normally select loads all in one go, but because I'm holding the camera by hand, I've got to select them individually. Hopefully you can see what's happening. I just keep adding, so that's effectively creating the cut hole on the MDF layer itself. One there, and one more to go here. So if we look at the MDF layer, there it all is, ready to go. I've got the cut line here, the holes for the buttons, and all the holes for the LEDs as well. So here's the MDF layer just been imported into the laser software. I'll just check everything's good. So I'll run a check data to make sure I'm happy, got no errors, so that's looking good. So you can see what it's going to do is it's going to draw out the blue line and then cut all the holes in the MDF. So what I'll do now, I'll send this to the laser cutter, and we'll load it up with some MDF ready to see it run. So we have everything set up, the red dot's on, we can just check, make sure it's going to fit in that area. That'll be the size of the cut. Close the lid, enable the laser, and we're off. There's the holes for the LEDs and buttons. And then we'll get the final shape cut out. As it's for a demo panel, I didn't bother putting the logo on the inside. So the whole thing's fairly quick. Doing all of this with one hand is so much more fun. Not. So there's the back, ready to go, and we have the front that will go onto this. So let's get this something like, there we go, a little slot like so. I can mount the buttons on. Perfect. Obviously this needs cleaning up before I do that, so I won't touch that yet. What I also need is a box. So let's go about making a box. All of the boxes I make, the enclosures, are all made with plywood over rather than MDF. I just find the plywood a lot more durable, but the plywood can be a little bit more tricky to work with. So what I have here for the small box is this design I made a while ago, and I'm just going to set the job up on the laser cutter, and then I'll let you see it run. So I've just sealed the bed so the vacuum pump, the vacuum base works to hold the plywood down. Let's close the lid and let it run. You can see it's getting close now on the box, it's almost finished. The other bits up top, and that'll make the small enclosure for it. And here's all the check them out, and hopefully, yep, looks good. We've got a little enclosure we can put together, so we'll get stuck into that in a minute. So I've got the box cut out. It basically falls into two halves. Do the easy part first. This is the bottom, so what I'll do, I'll spin that over so it forms the base, turn that round so it forms the outside, and we'll make the base up. Like so. Grab a bit of glue, and I'll use a PVA. And for this it only needs a simple clamp, so I'll use elastic bands. Put this together. It's one of those jobs where two hands usually isn't enough. Let's see if I can hold that together and spin it over. All I care about is that the corners line up properly and are correctly seated. Down there, let's get a second one on for good measure. So check, everything's looking good, and I'll put this where I can put a bit of weight on it, just to hold it level for a short while. That'll do. So I can forget about that. Now on the next layer we've got one of the flanges, and the sides. You can tell the next layer up because it's got the extra holes in it for this level. And the way this works, we have, let's make sure I've got the right holes. Yes, so what I want to do is just do a test fit, make sure it's all good, pick the dirty side, have that sticking out. Drop this in, no glue on it yet, looking good. Try the other side. Excellent. Side pieces. Even when I ship panels, larger panels, flat packed, I always just test fit them to make sure they're good. You never know. And I usually make 1 in 10 anyway, just to keep an eye on things. So that will form the top part of the box, and onto that we'll drop the fascia and the MDF backing. So if I get this the right way round, like so, not painted yet, but you get the idea. That'll drop in there like this, and then the top bezel will then drop on, and I'll glue that down as well. So I'd say at this point that looks like it's going to go together nicely. I've cut this big hole out here so that I could recess the connectors, because I want to put a power switch on this. I'm going to run it off a battery, so I'll need an on-off switch that's recessed so that it doesn't accidentally get turned on. Right, let's pop this out. Don't need any of those. Lay all these the way they're going to go, and we'll just run some glue around this as well. Indoor PVA is what I'm using. I don't envisage it's going to get soaked. I think if it does, the glue will be the least of your problems. Drop on there, drop on there, across here. Don't forget, I'm only doing the lower lip with glue at this point, not the top. I haven't painted it yet, so don't want to attach it. Looking good. And what I'll do now, I'll do the lower side of the lip. I'll just do it on the edge. A little bit of glue on the edge just to lock it in. Once you've got the hang of it, it takes no time at all, really. I think I've made over 100 of these in various sizes this year. Just it's something I never wanted to do, but I've, to be honest, thoroughly enjoyed it because it's forced me to learn new skills. There's one in. 2. In. Good. To the other side. I can't see the monitor from here, so I hope it's all in view. Fourth. Now what I'll do, I'll take this bezel and I'll drop it in unglued just to help hold its shape. And we'll use some elastic bands. These are the type the postman drops off. Plenty of them. And I'm not looking for lots of pressure, I'm just looking to make sure it's it's evenly attached and the corners are properly located. 2 on in there, 1, 2. Good, corners look good, everything's in. It should be at the correct shape because it's laser cut, so everything is accurate. Yeah, happy with that. For the sake of completeness, I'll drop these in, then it's guaranteed to stay square. I allow a 1mm gap, so there's a little bit of wiggle room on there, not going to be an issue. And again, that's not glued down yet. And there's the top half. Before it dries, let's just get that excess glue off. No, a little bit. Good white. I'll probably leave that for an hour, it's a warm day, and then we'll come back to it and see what we've got. Let's hold it down with something. There we go. So I'll see you in about an hour when the glue's dry. So here's the panel, now the glue's set, let's take a look. Top and bottom. Looks good so far. To lock them together, what I do, there's a hole in either end for a screw to go into a captive nut. So I put these two pieces together and stick them on the end like that, and they form the place for the captive nut to go. So let's glue these down. So, and the spacer for the captive nut. And what I'll do, I'll just use a little clamp to hold that. Looks good. Rinse and repeat for the other side. And that will just form the mechanism to hold the two halves together. And for the sides, I have these, they're a little bit longer. I tend to just snap them off, and that will make a lip to go here and a lip to go here, which is the one I snapped off, like so. Now on this I've got a little recess for the plugs and sockets, so what I'm going to do is I'll just glue that in and clamp that as well while I'm here. Clamp. Stick that in. Something like that will do. Let's give it one each end. That'll locate that. And I think for that end I'm going to need to leave a little gap about, so I'll make that about this long. Really isn't critical. So that'll go at the back, and that'll go, yeah, like this, and this one will go like so. Just a bit of glue on that. As it's only a small box, this really doesn't matter. It's not critical. Drop of glue. And a drop of glue on this one. I want this one to be shorter, don't I? To about there. And that's the basic box assembled. So whilst we wait for that to dry, we can look at painting the mimic panel itself next. There we are, clamped. Let's leave that here. Take the base of this. This is where we find we've glued it all together. We didn't want to. Don't care about that. Just care about this. So we'll relocate and we'll get the painting set out. So I've elected to go for a simple colour scheme here when I paint this. I'm going to do all the roads in red and all the text in black. I use an acrylic paint, and I'll just put some in this top. There we go. And I begin to apply it with a paintbrush. Let's back out a bit, you can see more. I hope my head doesn't get in the way. Plenty of paint on. And what I'm trying to do, depending on the colour, is fill the channel. So in this case with the red, it'll get brushed to make sure I've made contact on the bottom end, and then fill it. I need to make sure I don't paint over the LED holes, or they won't work very well. Just get some paint on it. Getting there. So what I'm trying to do is fill the etching with paint in the case of red. and then I'll go over it with a spatula. And that'll give it a uniform fill then. I think sometimes the problem with acrylic paint is it can set so fast. You're trying to even out a paint that's beginning to go off. Let's give that a try. Let's find the spatula. I make them out of the same material. Let's give this a go. So, pull that down from here, away from the holes. And with an even finish, it looks right. Let's get those pieces. Not that way. The fascia, the main side, is actually covered in a plastic protective covering, so I'll be peeling that off before installing, so it won't get scratched. Looking good so far. Let's get more paint in here. On a complex panel, this can be quite time consuming. At least a third of your time can go on painting. And that's after you've done the design actually cut it. So I think that red is done. Yes, looks good, it's covered properly. So I'll leave that now for 40 minutes to an hour and then we'll finish off the black. The red's looking fine, so I'll just add the black now. And that should complete this, so in a few hours time it'll be ready for installing into the panel. So we'll get some black acrylic paint. And we'll apply it to the lettering. I find the black covers quite well, so I don't need to spatula this on. And there we have it now with some black on the bottom, so let's have a look and see how that looks. Yeah, it's pretty legible, this part. Okay, let's try this bit. Just have to work it into all the corners. I don't think this this painting will make me a Picasso or a Van Gogh, but I like to think of it as functional. See how that looks. Yeah, pretty cool. Coming through nice and clear. Right, let's do the logo, that most important part. Gotta get the big M in. Ah, fab. Yeah, it's looking good. Let's get the bottom part of that, I think. Not quite right. Dig it into all the crannies. Yeah, looks good. There's a bit there. Happy with that? Right, title. Imagine on a large one, it takes forever to paint, especially when the customer wants lots and lots of different colours. To mask them off, make sure you don't overrun colours from one to the other. Quite a challenge sometimes. Mythical sidings. I think that looks pretty neat. So we'll leave that to dry overnight, and we'll pick up the pieces in the morning and attach this into the enclosure. A little bit there. Just the last few bits, I'm seeing the odd little spot around here, but I think that's okay on the M. Let's just improve that. Yeah. I think that's it. And then this plastic covering I can remove tomorrow, and hopefully it's going to look a lot better. So here's the panel. The paint's dry, and I think you'll agree it looks rather smart. So what we'll do now, we'll take the plastic covering off the front, the protective covering, and reveal the panel in its true beauty. There we go. I think that looks very nice. Okay, find the box and drop this in. Make sure the holes all line up. Yeah, it's perfect. I'll just hold it to the light. Spot on. So what I'll do next is I'll just drop some glue on the bezel, just a tiny drop, to hold this down, and then I think we'll be done. Go, drop this on, and I'll leave that for the next hour to dry, and then we'll finish off the insides and we can see the panel working. Before I finish on this, what I need to do is attach the fittings, the captive washers to the sides so that we can secure the top and bottom of the box. I take the captive nut head, drop it on the laser cut hole, and using a pair of pliers squeeze it in, and the lugs will secure the nut so it doesn't come out. Rinse and repeat for the other side. And we're in good shape. So let's take the top, drop it on the box. These lips, by the way, simply allow the sides to line up, so you can't really get it wrong. And now with this, I should be able to drop the screw on and tighten it up. And let's do the same for the other side. And there's the panel ready to be built up internally, have the electronics installed, and we're away to go. I won't show you how I wire it up because you've seen that on many videos. So here's the finished panel, wired up. All it needs is a gentle light sanding to complete it. I've added the network port here, a charge port here, and an on-off switch because this is primarily run off batteries, as it's for demonstration, and when you see me it shows I don't connect to power. Let's turn it on and light it up and let's see it work. So I'll take Mythical sidings, the demonstration sidings, give it some power, plug in the network cable to the other MegaPoints controllers boards through this socket here, turn it on, and we'll introduce a loco. Get some DCC power on the track, and you can see the block detectors found where the loco is, and as I shunt it around you can see it's picked it up here now. I've gone with the new blue LEDs. Solenoid, press the button, move the solenoid, and you can see it's being detected on all of the track locations. I've also added point position indicators to this, so these aren't responding to the button push, they're responding to the measured direction. There's one move and the other, the measured direction of the indicator, so it's always reading correct irrespective of how the points are set. So that completes the construction of this panel. I think it looks rather nice. It's been rather a long video, so thanks for watching along, and hopefully you can appreciate some of the effort that goes into making this and the larger, more complicated panels. Thanks for watching.